My name is Wyatt. You wouldn't guess it, but I'm an overnight stalker at Wallmart. It's not something I'm really proud of, but it helps me pay for school at least. But hey, plenty of you folks listening to this probably work there too. You know how it is. I get in line behind the break room to clock in every night. We have our daily meeting and briefing. We do that stupid cheer we have to do, and proceed to our assigned sections like workhorses. I make a point to grab one of the limited scanners every morning, before they run out. It's the only way I can hope to keep up with the supervisor's demands. As an overnight stalker, my job consists of taking things out of boxes, putting them onto the shelves, and making the shelves look pretty. Now and again, I get called to run the cardboard baler, or to help out a customer. Maybe even to man the phone. But boxes are basically the reason I'm there. Boxes and pallets. If you've never seen a shipping pallet, then you've definitely never seen a full one fresh out of the back room. They're haphazardly stacked about 6 feet high, and you'd better pray the boxes are big. Because smaller boxes just means that there are more of them, and more box Tetris to play. Tonight, of course, was nothing but small boxes. 3 whole pallets of them. I'd be lucky to even finish 2. Not only that, but I was assigned to the most dreaded department in this entire store. Toys. Let me explain. Our store only recently opened, and it takes a while for new locations to get organized. Every product has to be assigned an ID. IDs grouped into categories, and products associated with shelf locations, all accounting for the product's volume, shape, and quantity they want to fit onto the shelf. And if that quantity is physically impossible, then too bad. It's up to us stalkers to improvise or get chewed out. The toys department has still not yet been organized. And I know for a fact the toys department will never be organized. The toy market pumps out new things to appeal to kids so rapidly that Walmart literally does not bother coming up with an established infrastructure for their toys department, as products can come and go on a weekly, if not daily basis. You constantly come across products with no assigned IDs or shelf locations that you only have 2 options in dealing with. You can send them back to the back room as no mod, no assigned ID, and hope that nobody notices, or you can find a suitable place on the shelves to cram them in and print a price tag for them yourself. Given that this involves walking half a mile to the back room to get a printer, understandably, most stalkers prefer the former. I mean, it's not our fault if the merchandise department hasn't assigned product numbers yet, right? With 3 pallets of small boxes, I was expected to go through this process a minimum of 500 times tonight. I was not enthused. But work is work, and I am but a gear, if not a well-oiled one, in the great machine that is retail. Without further ado, I cut through the shrink wrap and picked up my very first box of many. The night dragged on, as it does, and I got a little over halfway through the first pallet in time for first break. When I caught sight of the time, I decided that the medium-sized box I was holding could wait. I set it back down on the pallet, and went off to take a much-needed opportunity for a 5-minute sit. It takes 5 minutes to walk to the bathroom, where the only bench is located, or to the break room from toys, and another 5 to get back. So my 15-minute break is really only a 5-minute break. The bathroom called louder. Upon returning to work, I noticed that the box I'd set down had fallen on the floor in front of the pallet. Perhaps I hadn't placed it as stably as I thought? Picking it up and checking the label, something strange caught my attention. The product ID consisted of just 4 letters. O-L-A-F. To better emphasize how unusual this is, let me explain product IDs. Walmart carries many products. It's a wonder that products are given any kind of recognizable identification at all, as opposed to just being an arbitrary jumble of letters and numbers. The toys department is especially notorious for its detailed product IDs due to the fact that, as mentioned, products come and go on a daily basis. A 10.5-inch Malibu Ken doll with Cocker Spaniel might have the ID Barb Ken 1012, Wallmart Company, while a SpongeBob playset might have something like SpongeBob Black Bot Boat Playset. Short, simple IDs are incredibly rare, but just 4 letters is unheard of. Upon seeing the word Olaf, my first thought was that it had something to do with the movie Frozen, which shelves are lined with right now. Upon opening the box, though, I was greeted with a grinning, gray hunchback-looking fellow, looking something out of an animated Tim Burton movie. I didn't recognize the curious little character from anything, and my nieces keep me plenty up to date on what's popular these days. It was just the one figure in the box, though, taking up the entire interior. His body was stuffed, while his legs and face were hard plastic. It was a very strange design for a toy, to be sure, and it didn't have any assigned shelf location. But that wasn't abnormal. I set him to the side for the time being as I worked through the rest of the pallet. Usually, boxes come in batches if more than one are meant to go on the shelf. As I finished off the first pallet, then the second, the chances of finding any more Olaf boxes grew slimmer and slimmer. By the end of the night, I managed to get through 2.5 pallets, exceeding my own expectations. But Olaf still stood there, alone on the floor, grinning his goofy little grin as if he were entertained by my efforts to find his siblings, and perhaps satisfied with the proof that he was one of a kind. The night ended with the last half pallet still remaining, and Olaf hurriedly placed onto an empty end cap for the coming day. If someone wanted to buy him, hard as it may be for me to imagine, they would take him. No sense printing up a shelf label for just one figure. The next night brought an interesting revelation, however. One of the usual aspects of our start of shift meetings is a breakdown of which departments had the highest sales the previous day. As if we peons have any control over that. Toys took the number 1 spot. Toys had never even earned a mention before. The grocery, stationery, and other depletable departments always take the top spots. Of course, I was assigned to work there again. And who should be waiting for me with open arms? But Olaf, still standing on that same end cap display, but now was taking a beckoning pose, as if a ringleader calling passerbys to his circus. I hadn't even realized he was positionable. Someone must have bent the flexible parts in his arms during the day as a joke. Who knew the little guy had such charisma? I chuckled at my own joke, a small solace against the long night of work ahead of me. I had only 2 more pallets on top of the remaining half from the previous night, but it had taken all I had just to get that much done then. 2 nights in a row at that pace would be pretty tiring. Nonetheless, I dove in and worked my hardest, chipping away at the mountain of toy trucks and pony plushes, little by little. As I worked, I had Olaf's mocking gaze piercing me from behind. That smile of his was starting to get a little annoying. Maybe I just set myself up to be in a bad mood when the night started. But it felt like I was working for him, stalking his little circus with more acts for the coming day. He was similar to my boss in more ways than being a hard-headed stuffed shirt. The most unsettling thing, though, was that I was sure his position was changing ever so slightly over the course of the night. Like, every time I turned around, it would just be another fraction of a millimeter off. The workload was getting to me, and the weekend couldn't come fast enough. By the end of the night, I had turned Olaf around so that his back was to the aisle, and I didn't have to look at that face anymore. The following night, Toys was number 2 in sales. Olaf was still there, standing at the end cap, posed in a playful, scolding position. Or maybe it was meant to be playful? But his goofy grin prevented it from being interpreted any other way. Still, the fact that he was turned towards the direction I always walked to at the start of every night was a little haunting. The night's workload was an unremarkable one. Just one pallet. After completing it, I would no doubt be relocated to another department to finish the night. Hoping to start out my shift on the right foot today, I began it by taking Olaf off of the end cap. He felt heavier than when I first unpacked him, and setting him down in the back of an adjacent bottom shelf, out of sight and out of mind. I planned to put him back before I left toys, as his apparent impact on sales was undeniable. But things got hectic, as they often do, and it slipped my mind. Number 3 in sales. Olaf was not pleased. In fact, he was scowling, right back on the end cap where he belonged. It had to have been a different model of the doll, and the first one had gotten sold, right? I worked my small cart of toys as quickly as possible and left the department and Olaf for the weekend. As stressful as this job was, this week was extraordinarily so. And as I worked the pallet in the hardware department, as I ate my lunch in solitude, and as I clocked out for the day, that twisted face continued to haunt me. I tried desperately to reason it all out, but I was tired. Very tired. I wanted only the comforting solace of the weekend at home. And wasting no time, I started the drive back. That intersection was a poor time to notice the familiar plastic grin that had found its way into my back seat.